What's up, everyone? Jesse checking in, Instagram Live. Happy New Year 2024. Really excited for this year and even more excited for my guest today, Khamille Barbosa. She's the brains and beauty behind Bare Hands Land Ventures, which is teaching people how to buy and sell land for passive income. So if you're interested in that, stick around. I'm really excited to have her. She should be joining anytime here now. And as we're waiting for her to join, what's up, Baron? What's up, guys? What's up, Kelly? Really excited to share a bit more about myself. I'm a CEO and founder of Abundance Codes. We help people pay for their purpose. Khamille's purpose is buying, selling land, and we're helping her with that. Whatever your purpose is, you don't have to bootstrap. You don't have to rack up your own personal credit card debt. Instead, you can use 0% interest, business credit. We actually just got a client over the $200,000 mark just today. $200,000 of 0% interest business funding that he's able to start and scale his business with. It's an amazing opportunity, and going to be doing these a lot more frequently moving forward from here, highlighting our entrepreneurs in our community, getting the word about all the amazing things they're up to, and really highlighting the benefit of leveraging 0% interest credit. So without any further ado, let me find Khamille on here. I think she's somewhere, and I'm going to go live. Here we go. All right, here we go. Oh, I see your. Flip your.
Nope.
Camera around.
You guys saw all the mess.
There she is.
All right, let me know if you see me.
Now we see you. Welcome, Khamille. How's it going?
Howdy. How's it going, guys?
Beautiful. We're really excited to have you here, Khamille. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. You want to mute on your side? There we go. Let me try that. So what we're doing here, guys, is we're doing an IG live and a Zoom recording behind. So we're trying to game the system right now. So we're getting a little bit of feedback. But
all right, tell me if that works.
Yeah, I think. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for the heads up. I think that's better now. Is that more clear to you guys? Sounds like it. Perfect. Thank you so much. Beautiful. All right, so Khamille, thanks so much for being here. Like I said on the brief intro, you're the brilliant mind behind Bare Hands Land Ventures. I know you're buying and selling land, which I don't know anything about. So really excited to share this with anybody who's listening who might be wondering what they can do to acquire assets during this time, what they can do with business funding during this time, where they can inject 50, 100K or more in business funding, and how they can flip that to make a profit. I know this is your expertise, so we'd love to have you give a little introduction about yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're up to, and tell us about Bare Hands Land Ventures.
Yes, well, thank you for having me, Jesse. I love this. I'm excited to share. Hi, everybody. My name is Khamille Barbosa, and yes, I am the founder of Bare Hands Land Ventures. I am very excited to share this because I don't usually share with a lot of people, so I kind of been looking forward to this because it's awesome, right? Who doesn't want to find ways to make money, right? And if I can do it, I feel like everyone can do it. So I'm really excited to share. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Amazing, Khamille. Thanks so much for being here. I know this is a little edgy for you, and that's all good. I don't know if you knew this, but I used to have a podcast a couple of years back. I did like 50 episodes, and I really enjoyed that, like connecting with people from all over the world, learning about their story and what they do. So for me, it's like getting back into that, which feels really good for me. And for you, I'm just love that you're opening up like a flower to share all the beauty that you have to offer and leaning into that edge a bit with an opportunity to help other people during this time find ways to grow their net worth. And that's just a beautiful gift, especially right now. So thanks so much for that. Thanks for being here. Tell us a bit more about what you do with Bare Hands Land Ventures.
Yes. So I love sharing it because it's so simple. I don't have to think about it too much. And so Bare Hands Land Ventures, it is what it is. We buy and sell land for cash. I know people are like, that's it. I just love the elevator pitch where somebody walks in and says, hey, what do you do? I buy and sell land for cash. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what I do. And I love how simple it is. And I love how simple the business is, right? We all know there's so many things we can choose to do at the end of the day, but the reason why I chose to go into this business was because of the simplicity and just how simple it is. There's not much to say there.
Yeah, well, I love the simplicity behind that. You buy and sell land with cash, and there's no more simple of a elevator pitch than that. And I think for me right now, I could use less complexity. I could use simplicity. So thanks so much for that. I don't know anybody listen to this. I'm sure you can relate. You want a simple way to make cash? Listen in. All right. So Khamille, before we get into like what that means and what it looks like and just more about your journey, I would love to hear like where you came from. Like where were you before you were doing Bare Hands Land Ventures?
Yes. So I was not in real estate. I actually never really wanted to get into real estate just because I heard everybody was into real estate. And I was like, that mountain is probably so packed. There's probably so much competition. So I never really even thought about, right, the real estate world. So I was in production. So totally different. I have no real estate experience before I started doing land. We were doing commercials in New York and LA, working 14-hour days. I was working remote for 3 to 4 years already through COVID. So just working nonstop, productions, commercials, and yeah, that was my life. So a pretty big change.
That is a big change. So production, and then wherein did land buying and selling come in the picture?
So I had a choice I was taking a little break, and I had a choice to go back into production, but I just remember how much work was. The money was great, okay, but 14-hour days working with LA, so I'm in Atlanta, so 3 hours, the 3 hours difference, working till like 3 in the morning some days, it was just too much, and that just took a toll, really, in my life, in my marriage. And I was just so stressed out all the time. And I was like, man, I need something that I can have control of my time, that I would be excited to do. And just being part of the NFT community that I was part of at the time, in a small real estate NFT community, I heard somebody mention land. And I always thought to myself, I would love to own a piece of land one day. But I was like, is it even possible? Isn't it super crazy expensive? So just the thought of like that land, the word land came into my worldview. So I began like just sitting on that. And then I heard a few people talking about you can actually buy and sell land, and it's very simple. So from there, I just began researching, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That's awesome. It sounds amazing. It sounds like you went from a really complex, overstressed production world with a lot of moving parts to simplicity of land sales. And I love how it was just like bouncing around in your mind there. For me, those sort of things that like I can't get them out of my head. It's like there's a reason for that, and it sounds really clear. It opened up a new pathway for you. So tell us about your okay. You had land bouncing around your head, and then what? What did that lead for you to do, and what did you find?
Yeah, so I began researching, Googling, YouTube, and funny enough, right? Everybody there in the land space kind of putting their videos out there and saying, hey, you can flip land, like you can flip houses, you can flip land. So I did notice that a lot of the land people came from the house flipping world, and I never wanted to do houses, even though there was like a lot of money there. All my friends did it or still do it. And I'm just like, I just don't want to deal with complications. There's so much that goes into it, right? It's a house. There's people living inside of most of the time, and you got to deal with this and that and things breaking, like just all the things. And that was already so stressful to me just to think about it. But then hearing people talk about land, I was like, you know what? I feel like there's something here because not a lot of people know about it. Like not a lot of people realize that, the same way there is homes and people are buying homes and the market is flooded, people want land, right? People need to build stuff. Like if somebody looks for something in the market and it doesn't exist, they're going to need a piece of land in order to create that. So I was like, there's definitely a market for this, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. Let me look into it. And sure enough, at the time when I came in about a year and a half ago, you didn't really hear much about land. So I was like, I like the idea of being in a market that it's not saturated, right? So now there's a lot more people, but still compared to houses and, real estate, commercial real estate, it's still not even close. You can ask everybody. Like a lot of people, most real estate agents do not know how to view land, how to price land. It's still something very out there. So that really piqued my interest, and I just began reaching out to people. I said, who is doing this the most simple way possible? Because I'm sure, Jesse, in this world, there's courses for everything, right? There's like a million gurus out there, and it's just like so overwhelming. Who do I go with? Who's doing it right? So I kind of searched for somebody that have been doing this for a long time, but can simplify the process for me so I can get going as fast as possible. And that's what I did. I found a mentor that was willing to work with me. I had no cash really saved up. And I was like, how do I get into this? Don't put a lot of money into it. And how fast can I see a return? How simple can you make it for me? And I did find a mentor that was able to do that for me. And I was just like, let's do this. I am sold. I'm just going to do it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that a lot. And there's a lot of questions you just asked me that I want to push back on you. But before I do that, Pathfinders wants to know if you, there he goes. He wants to get a huge lot for his bunker.
Let's do it.
Well,
let's do it. Tell me the size. We'll find one for you.
Or you stick around, Pathfinders, and you can find out how to do it yourself. And Khamille's,
That's
I know
right.
she covers, there's all kinds of intricacies, and you got to do your due diligence to make sure you're getting a good piece of land, just like with a house, which I know you're covering. So Khamille's opening up a mentorship, just like she had a mentor help her. And I truly believe the best way to get into something you've never been into, or expand your knowledge of something you're interested in now, is to get a mentor. And Khamille has been really gracious enough to open up her life to a number of people that want to get into land, to find their bunkers, to get property. I was thinking recently, not recently, for a while now, I want to get land. I want to get a homestead, put some cows, put some chickens on it, put my middle finger up to the government, and just live peacefully in harmony with my beautiful family and other families, and just live that way forever. And the foundational piece of that, the requirement, is land. If I don't have land, then I have nothing. So loving this. I know a lot of people are aligned with that, have that same desire to get out of the cities, get a simpler life. And so really excited that you're doing this. And I want to kind of push back to those questions you were asking me. Like, where would people start? I think getting a mentor and opening up to this is a good place to start. And really what I'm thinking on this is real estate is something I've heard a lot about. You have a lot of money in there, or a bunch of partners to get in there. But like, how much money up front would you need to get into a piece of land that you could then flip?
It really depends, right? So it depends on the size. It depends on the location. Funny enough, you think land, there's a niche within a niche within a niche. So when I started, I decided to go for the big boys. So a lot of people, so I would say 90% of the people that start in land, they buy the $500 Arizona lots, right? Which is like in the middle of nowhere. There's a million of them, and you own a piece of land. You put $500 down and you own a piece of land, and you can probably flip it for $1,500, $2,000, depending on the situation. So a lot goes into it as far as like, what is it worth? So there's a niche within a niche within a niche. So really, I didn't have any money, right? And my first property was $22K. So most people buy $500, $1,000. Why? Because they're afraid, what if it's a dud? What if it's something that I can't sell? So there's things now that you can do to make sure you don't buy something, right? There's the due diligence, the things that we learn after doing it wrong a few times, but you learn, okay, you can have the peace of mind knowing that you're buying something that's, even if you don't sell right away, it's not a dud. Like the appreciation won't go anywhere. You won't lose money by purchasing it. So I would say it really depends. At the end of the day, you don't really need a lot of money, right? So you can buy land for $500, $1,000. You can buy this land for $22,000, like it was my first. piece of land, and then I flipped it within 1 week. So my first piece of land, most people and that I tell this to that've been in the business for like 10 years, they're like, they all started with $500 pieces of land because they were afraid. And for some reason, now that I hear that, I'm like, man, maybe that would have been smart for me. But no, I literally just jumped in and I'm like, you know what? I am going with this. I don't care. And thank God it worked for me. But I followed the process, right? There was the due diligence. I looked at it. It looked good. There was a few $1,000 things that I needed to do because I didn't really know what I was doing. But at the end, it worked out. I sold it within 1 week. I was like, what? And there was a 10K profit on that one. So it really depends. But yeah, I think it depends on where you're buying, how big the piece of land is, because you can buy a tiny little infill lot, 0.25 acres, or you can buy, 100 acres of land.
Okay. Wow. Well, first, I'm in Arizona, so it's nice to know if I have $500 and I can go get a couple pieces of desert property in the middle of nowhere and flip that for 2K a little bit later. But that's epic that you were able to get 10K in profit in a week, and it's good on you for not listening to the doubts out there. Like there's a lot of doubters out there and there's very few doers, and you, Khamille, are a doer and you're reaping the rewards from that. So really congratulations on the courage it takes to step into that arena like that. Curious a bit more about like due diligence. So just like getting a little granular, I'm just curious in general, like what kind of stuff needed to be done on that property, or what sort of things, due diligence, are you doing typically with the properties that you were getting?
Yeah, great question. So there is the first like look at the property to make sure if you're going to continue to go even deeper in your due diligence, contacting people, maybe spending a little bit of money. So before you spend any money, there is a couple things that you can do off the bat and see if this is even a property that you want to continue with. So number one, I would say the number one thing would be road access. So it's between road access or flood zone. So, you want to be able to get to your property. If you're just starting out, you've never purchased land before, I would recommend 100% never buy a property that you can't get to it, right? Because if you're thinking of flipping, somebody's going to need to get to that property to look at it. And if you can't get to it, so a lot of people, they get into these things. They're like, oh, I found this great property. It's, $1,000, $5,000, but there's no access. So just a quick tip out there. Usually a property without road access. So if you're looking at the market to see how much this property is worth, usually what we do is we see what is selling in the area, right? So you want to compare apples to apples here. You never want to compare a property with no access with a property with access. That is the wrong way to go. So you want to make sure that when you're comparing, when you want to see what this property is worth, you want to compare a property with no road access. You want to compare a property in the same size. So I'm going to say road access is number one. So you want to get to it. There's got to be a road that leads to it. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be a all done, condominium road like with asphalt or anything like that. It could be a dirt road. I actually bought a lot with a dirt road. So that's not a big deal, but you got to have access to the property. And another thing, you don't want to have access to that property through other people's property because there's a thing called easement. You want to make sure those are a little bit more complicated. So if you're buying a property, it's your first time, you want to make sure, one, there's road access. Two, in a flood zone. Now, it really depends where you're buying this, okay? So, and why you're buying this property. So if it's for recreational purposes, you're not really building a home, the flood zone doesn't really make a difference because your developer, your builder, they're not looking, at the county and the city for permits in order to build, because usually they won't give you a permit if it's fully in a flood zone, and there's ways to check that. But it depends why you're buying. But if you're buying to sell, I would recommend, and it's not for recreational, not for hunting purposes, do not buy a property that's in a flood zone. Yeah. And there's a really easy way to see that. There's websites that you can go to, plug in the APN of the property, which is the parcel number or the address, and it will tell you if it's in a flood zone or not. Yeah. So road access, flood zone. Number three, back taxes. There's a lot of people selling their properties out there, and you write a contract, and it's like, yeah, I want to buy for $5K, but then you look, and there's like $15,000 worth of back taxes that will come to you. If you signed a contract and you closed it on that property, you will have to pay that. So it's very important to check with the assessor's website. And again, this is all available information online that you can Google the county or the city. Hey, tell me what the tax situation is on this property. And the county tells you that. So yeah, so flood zone, road access, flood zone, back taxes. And I think those are the major ones that I can think of off the bat.
Yeah, that's huge. And those are things I wouldn't have thought of. And I mean, I feel like you get hit with 15K in back taxes from a property you got, and that'll happen once, right? And you've already walked that path. So you're helping people avoid those mistakes. And even an obvious one like road access, Pathfinders wants to know if you can add value by creating road access. What do you think about that?
100%. Yes. So I know a friend of mine who recently purchased a property for 15K. So there is a market out there, right? But I'm just not recommending for the noobs that are full on just wanting to flip really quickly in the next 3 to 6 months, because building a road it's very expensive. As long as you know that, it's very, very expensive, and it's a long project. So if you're okay going into a year, year and a half project, then that's fine. But yes, you can tremendously raise the value of a property by adding road. Why? Because number one, a lot of people won't touch it, right? Because they don't have the bandwidth and they don't want to deal with that, permits and building and developing. Number two, I feel like you can find some diamonds in the rough. So a property can be worth 15K with no road access, but then let's say it costs you $50,000 to put a road access, but then the property is worth 150, 200K. So yeah, I think that's a great question. And yes, a friend of mine just did that. So they raised it from 15K to 150K.
Wow. So that's a real life example. So they essentially 10x the value by adding that road. Yeah, it makes sense that you wouldn't want to like go into your first piece of land and then try to add a road into that as well. But like you can see how it expands. And I mean, that's a big ROI. That's like crypto ROI 10x. What is the turnaround, or what was the turnaround on that specific?
So they're still finishing the road right now, but they have a buyer lined up already.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
It's all, yeah.
Amazing. That's epic. Curious, like what's coming up for me around this is like how are you able to sell within a week? Like who are you selling to? Like why wouldn't they just buy it themselves at the discounted at the 22K instead of 32K? Well, what's going on there that you're able to get in front of buyers that are willing to pay that premium price?
Great question. So yeah, these properties that I am acquiring that I learned how to get, they are off market. So nobody has access to them. They're just, somebody owns them. They never thought about selling them. They have it. And I go after and I say, hey, are you interested in selling your property for cash? And I offer them, a good amount, or something that's going to be fair to them and fair to me, that I can also make some cash later. And yeah, that's how I acquire these properties. So it's not in the market. That's why somebody couldn't find it or get it or buy it, because I went and acquired this property. Now it's under my company name. Now I own it. And then funny enough, this property was such a good property that I didn't even list it with a realtor. It was bandit signs, right? So land for sale by owner, and I sold it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I've seen it, it's hitting me now. I'm like driving sometimes. I see those little like yard sale signs that say buy and sell land, or we'll buy your land cash. So I don't know, I'm in Arizona, you're in Georgia, but maybe there's someone out here in Arizona like you that's doing the same thing. So you find the land of private sellers. They're not actually selling it. You make them an offer. They sell it to you. Then you essentially market it or put it on the market, and then you can sell it for more of a premium.
Yeah.
And Pathfinder is saying so you would be a wholesaler, but for land. Is that how you would describe it?
So personally, I am not a wholesaler, even though I've done wholesaling deals. So wholesaling means you're not purchasing the property outright under your name. Wholesaling means you are getting a property under contract and then holding that contract and say, hey, you're telling the seller that you're buying this property from them, right? They don't know that you're trying to find a buyer. They think you're the end buyer. So I wanted to remove the stress for my sake and my company, and I wanted to buy these properties outright. So I am the buyer. So I'm not trying to find a buyer, while dealing with the original seller. So yes, you can do wholesaling. A lot of people do it, and I just did one, and I'll share that in a little bit later. But I'm buying these properties outright because I feel that I can add value by cleaning it up and doing a few other things where other people are not doing that, and I can make more money.
Gotcha. Okay. So you mentioned on that first property that you did a couple things, like a couple thousand, sounds like a couple $1,000s worth of stuff. So like, what things are you doing to make it more presentable, more sellable for a higher price?
Yeah, off the bat, there's a lot of lots out there that are forgotten, right? People just, they use it as a dumping site. There's trash everywhere. It's overgrown, right? Because it's just sitting there. So those are I would say, the number one things that don't take a lot of money, and you can 100% change the value of it, add a little bit more value, and make it more, distinctive from the other properties that are being sold in the area. So I would say cleaning it up, getting somebody to cut down some of the trees. Again, you might need permits for some of this depending on the size of the tree and all that stuff, but you can do easy cleanup that you don't need to cut any trees down. Removing trash, I've done that before too, and I raised the value. Yeah, I would say that those are one of the main things.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. A bunch of trash to dump. No one's going to want to buy that, but if you
And
clean it up, no one really.
overgrown, yeah.
Yeah, overgrown for sure. Okay. So then what happens? You've got a property, you found it. I know you cover in your mentorship exactly all the ins and outs of that. So if anybody has any specific questions, feel free to send them in the Instagram here, and then I'll ask them. But I know you'll be covering that. So I think anybody who's interested in that, like more getting in the granulars of this, have a call with Khamille, message her on Instagram, and just see if this is of interest to you. But I was curious, like, okay, you found the private buyer or seller, and then you clean up the property, you did all your due diligence. Then what? Like, how do you market it? Where are you selling it? Who's buying the land that you are flipping?
So I purchased the property and I clean it up, take professional photos, hire a land specialist realtor, not a regular realtor, and they sell it for me. So pretty much my dispo is a real estate agent, so I can work and getting more pieces of land, so I don't have to worry about spending time finding a buyer. So my goal with the business is to make it a side hustle, passive, kind of passive, because it requires a little bit of check-in here and there and doing a few things. But this is truly a business that I believe if you have the process down and consistency, it can truly become a side passive income hustle for sure.
Okay, that sounds amazing. I know a lot of people are working jobs, looking for other ways. This seems like really interesting, and it can also build out to having those assets that you can start to build out a portfolio. Maybe keep some of the land yourself after you clean it up, after you know what you're doing here. What amount of I feel like, well, what I'm going to ask is what amount of time does it take, due diligence, all these sort of things. I know this will be like one of those things where it depends on the property and all the different things, but in general, how much time, energy, investment, if it's passive or if it's passive, how much actual time and energy are you putting into this?
Yeah. So again, you can make it as big as you want, right? Because this is the beauty of this business. You can make it as small or as big as you like. So you determine how many hours you want to spend depending on, because there's some metrics, there's some data that we found by, acquiring these many properties. This is how much money, this is how many deals you're able to get if you do this marketing or this amount of marketing. So it's really up to you. So for myself, I can speak for myself. I want this to be no more than a 10-hour week job, where I'm bringing in, at least, 60 to 100K. So that's I want it to be as side hustle as possible. So I'm not trying to grow. I'm not trying to hire a bunch of employees. And there's a lot of people making a lot of money because you can do that, right? You can up your marketing. You can do all the things. So that's not my case. My case is to stay as small, and I can live my life and do as many things as I want and still have that money coming in.
Okay. So you're saying 10 hours a week could lead to 60 to 100K in relatively passive income a year?
Yes. Yeah, I believe that. After you have your process set up, after you have, you've owned in, you came in and you've learned the main the important things, you can definitely do it 100%. I mean, I did it. So I'm just how come this is not, how come everybody's not doing this? That was my point. I was like, I have to share this with some people because I always thought it was impossible. I never had 20, 30, 40K sitting in my account, to be able to just purchase a property. And that's why I love you guys, because you guys are able to provide. If you think about it, for the normal person who works 40 hours a week, they don't have a bunch of money sitting, and they don't, even if they did, they don't want to use it. It's in their personal name. It's for a case of emergency. So when I found out that you can get business credit and you can use it for business, and you can, by the time that credit card is due, you already have that money back plus more. So I'm like, the money's just sitting there, let's do something with it.
Hey, that's a shout out to Abundance Codes. Way to go, team. This is exactly what we're talking about. So like what she's talking about here, for those that don't know, we do 0% interest business funding. These are business credit cards. The 0% interest offer is what we're taking advantage of. That's for a limited amount of time, averaging about 12 months, range is 7 to 22 months, but again, 12 months. And as Khamille said early on, like within a week, she made 10K off, right? So you get a business credit card, you put 22K down on that property, you do some fixing up, get someone out there to clean up the trash and do some landscaping, then you resell that for 10K more profit. You essentially ended up with 10K profit for free, meaning the credit card purchased it, you pay back the debt, and you magically alchemize that energy into profit for you. And like Khamille's saying, 60 to 100K a year with 10 hours of work per week. So it's epic. This is a perfect use case for Abundance Codes and what we can provide. And I love that you're so passionate about this, and you want to give your knowledge away. So curious, like, what would you say as far as that's a great question. Come Watch God asks, how did you use credit to buy land? Usually they only take down payments in cash.
This is the beauty of having your own business. You work out with a seller. Like, you can work out payments. Yes, you don't have to purchase all, you don't have to put 20, 30K down. You can say, hey, can I pay you monthly? Just invoice me. Everybody has PayPal. Everybody has the Zells and the things that you can use credit card, right, to purchase. So I mainly use my credit that I was able to get from Abundance Codes for marketing purposes. They send you an invoice. Like, I just pay that invoice. Hey, it's going to cost me this amount of money to do my marketing. Boom. I don't have to use the money sitting in my bank account. I can just have that as leverage later for something else or whatever. But yeah, there's ways around it. It's 2024, guys. If there isn't a specific way or something is not working, I promise you there's something out there that works, and you can always work out deals with sellers. Like, that's the beauty of having your own business, and you can be as creative as you want, right? And I'll talk about in a little bit too, how sometimes if it's a property that's a little bit more expensive, or you want to use your credit that you have, your business credit, for marketing purpose, so you're able to make more money quickly too, and actually have cash sitting in your account. And then, so yeah, there's so many ways. It's unbelievable. Yeah, there's so many ways.
Yeah, I hear your passion, and I feel it as well. It's like just simple as sending an invoice, and there you go. Because I think, Come Watch God, I don't know if you were on when she said, but typically what she's doing with this is reaching out to private land sellers who are not even on the market, and working up a deal with them, and so they could send over a PayPal invoice, boom, you pay with a credit card. We're seeing 60, 70, 80K on one business credit card, depending on credit score. So all you got to do is get an LLC. We can help you with that. Then we execute our custom funding strategy for you, get as much funding as you want, up to 100K. Like I said earlier, we've already had over $200,000 in 0% interest funding for one of our funding clients. You could buy a freaking huge piece. What could you buy with $200,000 of land?
Oh my goodness, so much. You can not only buy a big acreage farm with you can do so much. And again, it depends where you're looking. Yeah. So after you have the details, the information that I feel like, look, even if you're not planning to make this a business or a side hustle, I feel like just as a person who lives in America that wants to own land, or know about this possibility, I think you just become a better person by knowing what is possible, right? And down the line, you want to buy a piece of land, a family member is buying land, I just feel like there are so so many possibilities that you can do with information, right? Information is king. By knowing things, you make better decisions, and you can just do so much. So even if you're not looking to make a business out of it, I wish I knew this. My parents bought land in Brazil, and was I was just like, did you do a little bit of due diligence before you bought it? Like, did you check other comps? Like, did you see if if the mineral rights and the easements, like, did you check any of that? Because I know other countries. I just saw a question there about buying internationally. It's much different, right? I haven't bought any land internationally. My parents have, but it comes down the same technical things that you should look out for in the beginning. It's pretty much the same, right? To make sure, like title, like you want to make sure that it really belongs to that person. How many stories do we hear of people getting scammed? There's no reason to do that. You can pay $500 for a company to confirm the details for you. Look through the history, look 10, 15, 20 years ago. Because I've had situations with friends that they tell me about this because they've been in the land business much longer, where they bought a piece of property, they had a general title, meaning they only look back as far as the actual owner at that time, not previous owners. And they found out that there's another company 30, 40 years ago that owned an easement through the anyway, it's like you can pay a company $500 and you never have to be stressed.
Yeah.
So I feel like this information it's for everybody. If you're trying to get into the business or not, if you're planning to buy a piece of land or help other people with this information.
Yeah, amen. Well, I love that. And it sounds like what Kate was saying, Kate was wondering about the advice internationally. Sounds like the same thing. And I think you come out a little bit later, watch this later, Kate. Like she went over like how to do your due diligence, make sure that there's no taxes on it, make sure it's not in a flood zone, make sure there's road access. Other than that, learning the legal system of that country and how to transfer title and those sort of things. And you can have your beachfront property in Costa Rica or wherever you might end up, So amazing. So Dalton is actually a realtor in New York State. He's saying attorneys over title there. Dalton, let us know if you have any questions, if you have any experience with buying and selling land. I know he's crushing it in the real estate market in New York. Victoria, what's going on? Welcome.
Yeah. Dalton. Yes. So Georgia is also an attorney state. So yeah, very important to know. There's a list online too if you're wanting to know which states are attorneys and which states you can literally just buy it with a small title company. Again, the difference is not crazy, guys, to have an actual attorney look at the paperwork and make sure everything's correct. But yes, Georgia is a attorney state, and I found awesome attorneys to work with me. Again, I started very small, and I wanted the best company. Like, I'm a person that if I'm going to do something, I want to do it in excellence, because why not, right? Why have ASS things for no reason? So I wanted the best title company to work with me that are legit, that are verifying things. And at first they wouldn't work with me. This is a quick little side story. They wouldn't work with me because my deals were under 50K to begin with. And I was like, I promise you I'm going to bring you volume. I know I'm just starting, but you'll have volume, you'll make money. And they're like, okay, we'll think about it. I sent them some Jenny's ice cream. I asked the receptionist, hey, what do your attorneys love? Like, what's their favorite thing? And what I did, I went to Uber Eats, ordered a bunch of Jenny's ice cream and all the things, and I got an email like within 1 hour. We'll work with you. So I was just like, yes.
That's amazing, Khamille. Wow. Well, see, that's why you need a mentor, ladies and gentlemen. If you're getting into this, you're interested in it, get a freaking mentor. Look at Khamille. Maybe you guys can get some ice cream together when you celebrate your first sale. That's epic. Okay. Well, yeah, this is really cool. I appreciate all that you're sharing here. Is there anything like we haven't hit on that you think would be important to know about buying, selling land, about the mentorship, anything else you'd want to share?
Yes. So very simple, right? We're buying and selling land for cash. You don't have to have real estate experience. I didn't. Anybody can do it, right? The information is there. So it's not something that you have to sit there and like wonder and kind of be frozen, because that's usually what happens with most startups and little businesses and little side hustles. You get to certain points where you're like, oh, I don't know. I love this business because the information is out there. It's the data, right? You can't fake data. So you're going by actual sales. You're going by actual information. oh, I don't know if this soil is going to be good for this. We're going to pay somebody for a soil test to tell us yes or no. So there's no wondering. You can do this business as you want. There's a lot of people out there selling land to other people as buildable, but they're really not. Like, you're buying a dud. You can't do anything. Why? Because the soil won't perk for a septic, because it's not, the city doesn't provide sewage there. It's not on sewer. So there's very simple things that you can do to ensure that you're feeling confident in what you're doing. And this is the business to do it. Like, if you want to start something very small, again, it doesn't require a lot from you. It just requires consistency and doing step by step. I'm the kind of person who I don't try to think so much of the next step, because then I get frozen because I don't know what to do, right? And I feel like that's most of us. So what I did with this was, let me do step one. If I have a question, if I don't know what to do after that, then I'll go and search it out. But until you get there, why are you even worrying it out? Like, let's just worry let's worry about what is in front of us right now. So if you don't have experience, I feel like this is also for you. And another thing that I was going to say is, knowledge is power. If you do this, right, like hey, Khamille, I would love to kind of work with you. Let's do this 30-day challenge. I would love to make some money, side hustle. And you realize, I don't think I want to do this. That's okay. Like, you will get your money back from what you invest into this within the first 3 to 6 months. So it's not like you threw money in the trash. There's no way. That I will tell you. Like, you're not going into something and like, oh, I changed my mind now. And I don't think you're going to change your mind, because you're going to see the return. But if you do, that's okay. Like, you're not wasting any money, and you're not wasting time, because you're gaining this knowledge for yourself about the market, what's going on. You're just going to kind of expand a little bit. So I think it's great.
It sounds amazing. I'm sold on it here. So what I'm hearing is, you don't need experience, and because of Abundance Coach, you don't even have to have any money. You just need to get some business credit. It takes about a month and get you 50, 100K or more in 0% interest business funding. Boom. Khamille's saying within 30 days, buy and sell your first piece of land. She did it in a week. She's going to teach you exactly how to do it. She simplified everything. She's gotten a really systematic step-by-step process, following the data, and she knows where to go. She knows where to get the best ice cream to swoon the right people at the right time. So this is amazing, Khamille. I hope some people reach out to you. Please do, if you're interested in buying and selling land. If you're looking for a passive income stream, she says 60 to 100K with 10 hours of work. Like, what else do you need? So if it interests you, message her on Instagram. One other question I was thinking about here is, like, what's the projections looking like? Meaning, like, the real estate market, like, who knows? Real interest rates are high. Like I don't really know. There's some realtors on I saw, so they probably got their finger on the pulse of this. But like, what is it? How is it different as far as land sales? And what does it look like over the next 12 to 18 months?
Okay, so I can't really predict, right, what's going to happen in 6 months to a year. There's definitely things go up and down. Interest rates go really high, like we are seeing now. But one thing that I can for sure, so I like to stick to things that I can see and I can predict. So I cannot predict the market, right? So things could sit. Let's say that I was predicting that my piece of land is going to sell within the first 3 months, and it's taking a year. We can make decisions prior to locking in that property to ensure, if something crazy does happen and now I'm just sitting on these properties, we still get cash value from it and we're not losing our money.
Yeah.
So one thing to know is, land does not lose appreciation. So your money is just sitting there. It's almost like you're parking your money. So if you just want to, actually, I don't want to deal with this anymore, sell it for what you purchased or maybe a little bit more, because what I do usually, I'm purchasing these lots and these properties for lower what the market is going for, right? So you have wiggle room. So I think that's like the most important thing that I would say to somebody. Never buy something that the margins are so tight. And that's kind of what I try to teach and do, is make sure that whatever you're purchasing, if you're putting money out, that you're confident that even if it sits forever, you are going to make money out of it. So you try not to put yourself into situations that are later going to harm you. So you can do that prior to getting into something.
Yeah.
So depending on what happens with the market, right? So I've sold properties within a week. I've also sold properties after 6 months that I thought, oh my goodness. So that stuff will happen. So as long as you're setting yourself up for success, I feel like you're going to be okay.
Yeah, amazing. Essentially, you don't have to worry about the market interest rates because you're paying it with potentially business credit or just buying cash essentially for this land. So you don't have to worry about the interest payments on it. You can flip that 1 week to 6 months later, and boom, there you go. You got your profits. And everyone's all riding the roller coasters of the real estate market when you don't have to. You're more grounded, literally, with the land you're buying, and it sounds like an amazing opportunity. All right, cool. So, well, any other points, any other things you wanna say? It seems like it's a no-brainer, honestly, for someone looking for a side hustle. All you got to do is get the mentor. She's right here. She's amazing. Her name's Khamille Barbosa, Bare Hands Land Ventures. And yeah, Khamille, anything else you want to say before we wrap up here?
Yes. So last thing is, again, I am not trying to grow this into this huge thing. I love having my time and, being able to decide. I don't like cramming things into like every single minute. That's so stressful to me. And my goal for this year is how do I minimize the stress and still live an abundant life, right? That's like my husband and I were always talking about how to improve, how to do that. And limiting stress, I feel, in our generation right now and this time is like huge. So as far as working with people, guys, I will be limiting the amount of people that I can work with, like, just a small circle. I prefer working that way. There's just more attention to detail and, just walking you through the process to ensure you feel confident and you know what you're doing. Again, I'm not extending myself out. I would never want to do that. That is not something I want to do. And I do realize, too, if you Google, there are thousands of courses that you can choose from. And if you find somebody that you kind of jive with better than me, by all means, please go with that person, because it really matters that you are working with people that you love and that you connect with. That's like a big deal, right? So if you're doing this every day, you don't want to work with people that you don't like. So make sure that, whoever you choose, it's like a good vibe. That's really important to me. And yeah, I'm excited. If this is something you want to learn about, message me again, like Jesse said, on Instagram, and we'll work something out. But yeah, I'm excited to share everything. I will lay out everything that I've learned and that I'm currently learning, because I'm still doing this, and that we'll grow together.
Boom. I love that. Thank you so much, Khamille. I remember you saying before the call that you spent like $7,000 on one of those online courses.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You got in there and realized that you already know all the information that was presented in there. They're essentially just selling the community with the value. So you're building your own community. I remember you saying you want like 5 people. So if any of you are listening to this, reach out to Khamille, have a call, chat with her, have her answer any questions you've got. She's saying this is a 30-day program. She's going to essentially hand hold you through the entire buying and selling land process, will help you learn from her mistakes, go through the whole process. So reach out to her. If you need funding, you need to reach out to me, because we got 0% interest business funding that has your name all over it. You just need a credit score of 740 or greater. If you're not there yet, we can fix your credit, get you there, and get you on your way, connect you with Khamille for the next round. But other than that, thank you guys so much for attending live. Thanks so much for listening to the recording. Khamille, you're amazing. I feel your passion. I love your energy, and I really appreciate you sharing more about your journey, about what you're up to in the world, and really hope you can continue to impact people's lives through buying and selling land.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
my pleasure. Jesse, thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm so thankful for your time. You took a little bit of time here, and it's precious. Your time is precious, so I appreciate it.
Amazing. Well, that's it, IG Live. Have a great rest of your day. We'll catch up soon.